Every day, people in different countries transact with each other, and these transactions are recorded in the balance of payments account. Let's go back to our favorite HGTV ex-couple, Karen and Brad. If you haven't watched that video, it's in the study breaks, A House Divided. It's kind of it's an interesting quality of video, but I highly recommend you check it out. Very entertaining.
You broke your house.
Like we broke our marriage.
And we can only fix one.
Written by yours truly. It was performed by some freshmen at my high school. It was really great. I'd highly recommend checking it out. I don't know. This doesn't need to be an advertisement for it. I was proud of it. I know some people didn't like it, but I was proud of it. Let's just leave it at that. So, go check out A House Divided on AP Economics, my YouTube channel. Yeah. Anyway, back to economics. So, our favorite HGTV ex-couple, Karen and Brad. Can we get the chalkboard, please? Okay, so let's pretend that we are looking at Karen and Brad's books for their show, A House Divided, on HGTV. We know a couple of things about the show. They made $100,000 in funding from Oprah. They spent $70,000. Whoopsies. That's going to screw up our math a little bit. They spent $70,000 on their paying contractor Phil, and another $40,000 in buying materials for the homes. They received $500 in interest from money they had in a bank account, but they spent $10,000 on a loan for new camera equipment to record the show. They also, during this period of time, took out a new loan, but did not spend all of it, putting their excess money in the bank. Now, there's a lot of information that we have up here, right? But one thing that's really easy, makes it really easy to organize all this information is to put it all into a table. Now, we're going to graph this table under, this table is going to consist of, look at the pretty Christmas lights. It's not even December yet, and people already have their Christmas lights up. That's nice. Anyways. What a great time of the year. I mean, sure, I hate the cold, but the cold is fine. I have a warm coat. But it's so pretty. Anyway, it's late at night. I'm tired. Sorry. So, back to economics. So, we have a lot of information in our table here, right? But our table is going to have the transactions categorized under the purchases of goods/services, the purchases/sales of goods and services, interest payments, and loans and deposits. And then we're going to further break these down into whether they are the sources of cash, the uses of cash, and then we're going to throw in the net cash at the very end here, just to make sure that we can keep track of all of our numbers. See how easy this is to organize Brad and Karen's finances? Well, our balance accounts are very similar in terms of the way that we organize it for our country. We have slightly different categories, of course. The government isn't purchasing cameras for the filming of their HGTV show, at least I hope not. But they have to pay people. They have, in foreign countries, and that is the important thing to remember. This isn't just the budget. This is the government's use of money in buying foreign goods and services. So these are transactions with other countries. That's the important thing that we're going to have to keep track of. So we're going to have the government's balance of payments with its different categories. There is the sales and purchases of goods, basically the value of exports and fees to U.S. companies. We export wheat to a European country, or we offer consulting to a country in a U.S. consulting firm sells their service to a company based in South Africa, right? It's any of these sales and purchases of goods and services that we provide to other countries. You'll also have our factor income, the interest from overseas loans that we have, or profits from foreign-owned corporations. For example, McDonald's is based in the United States, but they have subsidiaries in multiple different countries. And one thing that they're able to do is that they can, any profits from like McDonald's in Europe or McDonald's in Asia is collected and put into this factor income group. You'll also have transfers, the funds from citizens of one country to another. This is usually, you see this with a lot of immigrants who come into a country and then send the money back home to support their families. These would be these transfers. Basically, transfers of money from citizens of one country to another in some form of gift without services paid. Because you'll remember, if goods or services are used, then it goes under the sales and purchases of goods category, not under the transfers. Now, these are the current accounts. These are accounts where we actually have physical goods and services being, let me stop for a second and grab the exact definition. The current account is the balance of payments on goods and services plus international transfer payments and factor income, this one is goods and services. And you saw this with its transfers, which are explicitly said in the definition, factor income, which is effectively for goods and services, and the factor and sales and purchases of goods and services, which is obviously the sales and purchases of goods and services. It's in the name. So that's the key thing to remember about economics. Be logical. It's not that hard. Then you're going to go into the official assets, the sales and transfers and then we go into the financial accounts, which is the sales of and transfers of assets, which you'll remember are stocks, bonds, things we talked about in with financial institutions and those financial services back in Unit 5, I think it was. Back in Unit 5. So you're going to see that there are then two types of that. There are your official transfers, which are goods and services which are sales and transfers of government assets, not goods and services. That's current accounts. We're on financial accounts now. So official assets, which are government assets, or private assets, which are corporation assets, which those are going to be your stocks and your corporate bonds, where the official assets are going to be your government bonds. Again, sold to people in different countries. If it's sold to people in our own country, that doesn't go under the balance of payments, because balance of payments is only for international sales and purchases. Basically, as you see in this graph here, you have the United States and the rest of the world, and you're basically going to have that the United States pays the rest of the world for assets, and we pay the rest of the world for goods and services, factor income, and transfers. Again, financial accounts, current accounts, exactly like we've been talking about. But that the rest of the world at the same time is paying us for our goods, services, and transfers, and our incomes, and they're paying for our assets. So what you're going to get is a nice even back and forth where, in theory, due to the accounting rules, we should end up with a net zero, where basically the current account plus the financial account, both equal to positive entries minus the negative entries into our economy, is going to equal zero. Now, there's a lot in our textbook about the modeling of the financial accounts. And really, it's just the loanable funds model that we've talked about in other videos. And it then goes into the Forex account, which we're going to cover in a completely separate video. So the important thing to basically remember is that you have current accounts are goods and services, factor income, and transfers. Financial are assets, both official, which is government, and private, which is corporations. That's really all you're going to need to know from this chapter. And it was a fun memory of HGTV. So, for AP Economics, this is Duncan Fox driving away. Until next time.